We are a podcast for product marketers and B2B SaaS who feel misunderstood of what they do.
From someone who truly gets what you do and
basically help you feel less like a misfit, being unignorable in your role. Yo. Welcome to another episode of We're Not Marketers. Today we have a topic we haven't chatted about for a long time, but we're very excited about. And it's basically how can you bet on yourself and taking the fractional route, which is something that the three of us have done. So I'll pass over the mic to Zach.
Yo. Yeah, this is Zach on the mic. This is the sales water lad, ready to re-engage in this topic. Before we do that, let's pass it over to Eric.
Yes, Eric Holland, your favorite Franken manager here. And just finish up my first year almost as a fractional. So excited to share a little bit of that and what's coming up next.
Awesome, guys. Cool. And on my end, Gab Bijou, the sales deck associate, I just turned 9 months being full-time, being fractional. So a lot of learnings, a lot of insights out of it. But maybe we'll start with the guys with what would be a message to you trying to talk to PMMs and trying to understand if they should take the fractional route. I know, Zach, someone reached out to you recently and asked a lot of questions about that. And your answer was, I don't think you understand the realities of going fractional. And I think there's a lot of requirement you need to have if you want to take that route in terms of internally how you feel about that jump. So maybe let's start with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned it. So I'm approaching the 16th month mark of fractional. And Gab, you and I spoke about this yesterday, but like the first 6 months when I was in it, I was having like ongoing imposter syndrome of like, I'm not equipped for this. Despite like me hitting like my monthly like revenue targets, like renewing my contract here, like I was still questioning myself. And this is the context of why I spoke with that individual. This was someone that recently went through a riff, got laid off, and was like, hey, like I see what you're doing. I'm very interested in going the fractional route too. And the challenge being is that when you go fractional, one piece of advice that I would share with myself who's doing that is that be ready to unlearn the habits of in-house. And I'm not saying unlearn like what the skills you have developed, but unlearn like the realities that we take for granted as in-house. Being that like you have a stable paycheck, you have taxes taken care of for you. If you're at a larger organization, you might even have like 401k like match. And so this was a context that this individual I was talking to brought up is that, hey, like I want to explore different industries, different spaces, and I want financial stability. And this comes back to the point that, just to bring it home, is that I was like, well, I think you should probably take some time to really reflect on what you want to get out of this, because those two things kind of conflict. Is that with finance, it's like that's great, like that's all we want as like fractional solopreneurs, that financial stability, but you're selling yourself. You are earning, whereas when you're in employment, you like hopefully, air quotes, like you have that job in perpetuity. And this is not to say that like, oh, like this is reality. There are trade-offs. It's like I enjoy it. This is the hard that I choose, but also know it's not all roses. There are some thorns. It's just like, again, unlearn the habits of a 9-to-5 and ask yourself, what are you looking to get out of the experience? That's my take.
I love this take because I relate to this so strongly. I still feel like that imposter syndrome you got in the first 6 months, I feel like that. But I know it can change in a jiffy, right? Like I have a contract negotiation right now, and I'll know more about it in a few days. If this close, I'm good, right? I just need to replicate that process, and I know it can change it. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world because I got to that point. So all I need is more opportunities. But it's also the fact that the unlearning part is so much crucial because you're used to doing a set of job, one thing. It doesn't necessarily include HR, it doesn't necessarily include admin, it doesn't necessarily include process, ops, and all of that. But you get stuck to do it. And if you don't do your accounting every month, you're stuck like me right now that I'm like, why the hell did where is that $400 coming from? So again, a small tip, do your accounting every month. The other thing with that is the fact that it's something that you will always have in your mind. Like I used to have very good night's sleep and I still do, but when I wake up, sometimes I'm thinking about work. I'm thinking about different stuff, different ideas. So I always keep a notepad next to my bed so I can just like roll over, note some stuff from a post idea, something you could do with a client, a process, a system, whatever else you want to call it. And the other thing too is, in my case, this year, at least the last 9 months, when not as great as I thought it would be for a handful of reasons, but I think the biggest one was I didn't charge my clients enough of the scope because of the offer, because of the client, because of the lead gen and qualification. So there's always understand that there's 1,000 ways you can fail. You can fail what you're trying to do. The goal should be to always have a grit and discipline and just keep pushing, keep experimenting, keep iterating. This will never stop. But the fact that you need to really kind of change or reset your mind is so much essential. Like it's very key.
That's
Yeah,
powerful.
I was gonna say, to me, because for some context, my first 10-ish months of fractional, I've been a little spoiled. It was basically 3 months stints of contracts at like a 40-hour work. So those just kept getting renewed. And then recently I've been doing, some other clients, figuring out, how does that all work? And I do think there's probably some retraining. I don't think I'm quite there yet, but what I'm definitely realizing so quickly is like there is a learning that needs to be done. Like the classes for entrepreneurship that they offered in high school and then, you can take in college and all that. Like those learnings is something that needs to be had if you are thinking about going fractional.
Yeah.
So like I actually maybe would defer to you guys on this, but my suggestion would be figure out some type of lightweight course, reference Chat GPT and ask some very specific questions, but learn what it is like to be a fractional and the things that you need to, take responsibility for now. Because I just like it's crazy, even stuff from just creating a contract for an organization instead of getting them to send me one. I'm like, oh, well, okay, got to learn that, right? Got to figure out a vendor so I can do this properly. Got to, all the stuff you got to set up. And so I think that would be my number one recommendation to folks. Like, if you are thinking about it, go educate yourself first and make the responsible decision. Can I handle those things? And can I weave those into my work schedule? Will I enjoy doing those things? Because I think that's something that you just don't think about, right? You're so eager to get a client, you're so eager to get set up, you're so excited to like make that life for yourself, but you actually need to go educate. What is it like to be a solopreneur or some type of consulting fractional work? That I just like have not been privy to that formal education yet. So just kind of piecing it as I go and realizing I'm going to just take a few days here on I got some time off over the next few weeks. I'm going to like learn and educate myself on those things that I just know right now are popping up at random and causing delays in my workflow.
Eric, I really love that piece because like there's two things you're saying right here that really resonate with me. Is that one skill I'm very grateful for that I was fortunate enough to build early on was selling. Because one thing that's not spoken about with my fractional work is that it's a lot of selling.
So
And
much. So
so
much.
much. And it's not selling in the sense of closing deals. We've spoken about this like in our group chats. the number of times I've got my teeth kicked in on deals, and here was the difference from back then to how I see it now. Back then, I was just like, oh, like I'm not saying the right thing. Like, what do they need? Like, how can I position myself to be like their like ideal fit? Like, Gab, you kind of mentioned it earlier. Like, hey, like I'm here to do whatever as a product marketer. But today, being like, I've niched further down into sales enablement. I'm working on seller cheat sheets, a sales playbook. I have a built out process now where I'm like, this is how we work together. This is the problem we're looking to solve. And if someone doesn't rock with it, it's like, okay, they're either this is not the problem they need right now. It's too early for them. It's not a fit. So like having that sales acumen has made it easier for me to, I'm not afraid to reach out to people and be like, hey, this is what I do. Can I are you open to this? I've seen people on LinkedIn ignore my messages, but then post on the next day. And by the way, I remember those people. No, I'm like, no hard feelings. I'm like, I get it. But that's what fuels me. That's what gets me energized. And I've had people where they're like, no, I don't want to rock with you. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But it's like having that resilience to like, all right, I've got momentum in my corner. And this is the second thing, is that the one thing that you guys shared here, which is really cool, is retraining the mindset. Because Emma mentioned it in like our season 1 episode of like entrepreneurship is like a baptism of mindset. It's like we are unlearning things. One of the coolest things I've started learning the past 3 months is just like, Gab, we spoke about this yesterday, is I have an affirmation journal now. I know I've spoken about this before. I got a gratitude journal. I've got an anger journal. Yeah, the anger journal will never see the light of day because, like, if that went out, there I'll be getting some calls from law enforcement. Like,
I'm putting on a ninja costume, and I'm going to get that for us all. We're going to do a light reading one day.
Oh my god!
Like, you got to have outlets to like just like, because there are aspects of fractional work that are very frustrating. Henceforth, anger journal. But the affirmation journal, why this is powerful, it pairs well because like you have the expertise, you are qualified, but there are moments where you feel like that you are just not worthy enough for the opportunities in front of you. Having an affirmation where you can look yourself in the mirror and be like, okay, like I need to speak about what I have in the present tense, speak about it positively. I have to be precise in my language. I have to make it powerful. And like and then what? I need to bring it forth. Like I need to bring that energy in. Because the more you do that, it's that mind body connection. So like I have like 15 affirmations I have written down. Like I pick like 5 of them and I write them 3 times. I'm like, I've got momentum in my corner. I'm a full stack solopreneur. I'm like, I've got a next client just around the corner. And you know what's been happening since? Is that the crazy enough thing is that when I reach out to people and I'm having these sales calls, it's like, I know like I'm not pretending to be a fractional product marketer looking for a job. Like I'm like, Gab, you reached out a few weeks ago. You're like, hey, I see this opportunity that you might be interested in. It was like a hybrid role in San Francisco. I'm like, nah, dude. I'm going all in on this because now it's like nothing's changed. I changed. I've adapted. So that's why I say it's like, hey, find opportunities to learn sales. So like Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss. That's a really good book. Zig Ziglar, Sales 101. The second one, like check out like Confident Mind. Like if you can read chapter 2 and 3 about affirmations itself, like that itself has like just up leveled from a year ago to what I'm doing now.
Lots of great stuff to add in the show notes. Clock reading. What I like too of what you said is like right now you're feeling the momentum. Momentum is such a powerful force that you should lever every time, right? If I work a 9 to 5, I work for someone else, like usually. At 5, I'm already tired. If I have momentum at 2 p.m. and it's like 7 p.m. and I still work, I should keep working. And you know, we talk about work-life balance. Like if your family is like, hey, what are we eating for dinner? Might be another discussion. But the goal is you should follow that rule 100% of the time when it hits, because there's days that you won't feel like it, right? And it's you against you. It's not them. If I don't work on this, my boss will just fire me. No, the work you're doing today, and this is very important, and this is my biggest learning as a solopreneur, the work you're doing today will pay off in 3, 4, 5, 6 months. It won't be immediate, right? So if you work a lot and then you see the rewards, but between the two, you stop working or you work less, it will reflect in the future. So this is very key. The other thing is you should be the first thing you should protect is your time, because usually you'll be working for yourself. You won't have anyone else. If you're spending, like, working hard is not a problem. If you're a PMM, chances are you have been hitting a lot of 50, 60 hours a week. It's not about working hard. It's about working in the right direction. It's not a question of distraction. It's a question of disorientation. So what you should be doing is you should be very adamant about what your time is spent on what. And just to circle back on two things. The first thing, when Zach told us that he was going 100% on Fractional, my initial reaction was fuck yes, because you've been killing it. I'm very happy to see how you're progressing. And it's also a good benchmark for me, because I'm like, my friend is killing it. Why am I not killing it up to that level? And it's creating a little bit of camaraderie, a little bit of competition. It's making me work harder on the right stuff. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, Eric said something earlier on, if you want to go fractional, you should be looking at what are you trying to get out of it. And I'll take a page of the book of Denko, which both me and Zach appreciate his writing, his learning, and everything like that. But ask yourself 2 questions and wrote those down as bullet points and look at those every day, especially when you feel like undisciplined, you don't have motivation, you're playing a bit sometimes with the victim mentality of why isn't it working for me. The first one, what do you want out of life? Just put a list down. What do you want out of life that you don't have today and you don't feel like you can achieve? And the second one, what do you don't want out of life? Those 2 elements will make you learn a lot about yourself, will make you learn a lot about what do you truly want and strive about. And if this doesn't fuel you, it's like a house of cards. Everything else will fall down. If you don't have a strong foundation, you're like, I hate this. It's hard work. I don't even have a guarantee of a salary of what will happen. It will be very hard. Like, no one will be able to convince you other than you. So you should have the right foundation if you want to succeed.
And I really like that, what you said, Gab. And it brings back a conversation I had with a really good friend of mine, like last week. So, like, for context, I shared a post last month about, like, hey, I hit the 15-month mark as a fractional PMM, and I spoke about intentional trade-offs, because like you said, like, hey, it's like, Zach, you are killing it right now, and like, dude, I appreciate you for saying that. And it's like, but what I shared in the post is like, what you all don't see behind the scenes is that this background, I'm living at home with my mom right now. Like, I don't own a car. The only wheels I got are my pair of rollerblades right behind me. And it's intentional because I know that, like you said earlier, Gab, is that I want to go all in on this. And the reality being is that if I want to keep expenses low, I can't live in San Francisco. Because that's just gonna eat at my profit. It's gonna put more stress on me. It's gonna make it easier for me to entertain, like, a potential job opportunity. And it's nothing wrong with that by any means. But if I know this is what I want to do, the question I ask myself is like, what is that intentional trade-off? Like, what am I willing to say no to right now, so I can say yes to this? And I think that's, like, going back to your point, Gab, is that what do we want? Like, and I think,
Yep.
like, that's a hard question that we don't give ourselves a lot of space to reflect on. And I think that was one thing that was sparked me, because I sat there with myself. I'm like, I want to do this, but I can't do it living in San Francisco. I can't do it, like, living the quote unquote American dream,
Yeah.
buying a house, owning a car. Um, Well, my credit score is good though.
Let's
Hey.
go. Small win. Small win. But back to what you said, it's like
Yeah.
if you have a lifeline, you won't be 100% committed, right? Like if when I do bouldering, for example, I'm like 7, 8 feet in the air. I don't have nothing like holding me on. So if I fall from the wall, I'll just well, there's mattresses, so it's fine. But I still fall. I can still hurt myself, right? And it's the same. If you live in San Francisco, you're fractional, costs are high. You know that tomorrow maybe it will be harder. We're not all Eric Collins here, but maybe what you can do is like you'll be looking for a job. This still feel like like a little it just feel like you have that lifeline that you can get. If you don't have it, you just push yourself to be 100% on it. And the victim mentality doesn't exist anymore because I'm seeing all of those PMMs rocking full-time roles. No, because you have stuff you want out of life that they might not want. And always going back to that is the best instrumental placement of your discipline. It's not all about motivation, but if you have the right foundation, again, like you'll be able to fuel into that to be okay. Well, it's not exactly what I want to do. It's uncomfortable. I don't know what will happen, but you'll
Yeah.
still keep going at it. And again,
Yeah.
all you need is a fucking yes.
Yes.
All you need is someone that will accept to pay you a retainer or to work on a micro project from a micro offer. And then you'll be like, okay, well, I help you with messaging. Me, for example, I help them with message testing. Cool. It's been a fun 3 months. How about we work on content together for another 6 months? Like it's limitless. All you need is to believe in yourself, is to have that grit and that discipline. And you just need strangers online that will think you're a cool enough dude or gal to accept working with you, and then the rest is done. You'll get a paycheck, and you'll live to fight another day, basically.
Yeah. And I like that point about lifeline. But one thing I will caveat as a finance major, and this is not even so much by being a finance major, this advice is applicable to everyone, is that if you have some savings set aside, because that gives you a cushion. Because what
Yeah.
happens, and I think we've all been there, is that your offer is going to change. What you're going to do is going to evolve. There's going to be things you're going to stop doing and start doing. You're going to continue. So having that cushion just makes it easier to ride out the ebbs and flows. So I like, highly recommend that. Like I've spoken to people, like, or some people might have a 3 months like of their living expenses saved up. Some people have 6. Other people have a year. Like, what is your risk
Yeah,
tolerance? Yeah.
exactly. And I want to add as well, have a very supportive partner. Like I have
Oh yeah.
I have savings, but like having someone that have you back and that you feel like you can like everything that happened, good and bad stuff is just in your corner. It's priceless.
Well,
That's
yeah, and that leads to the thing I've been dying to talk about is the confidence that you have, right? Like part of your confidence and a big old chunk of it for me, and it sounds like for you too, Gab, is that awesome partner who like obviously can't live our world, especially like a fractional product marketer, right? But can empathize and just say, I got your back, good days, bad days, everything else in between. That makes a huge difference. Um, and I think, for me, I don't have a lot of at bats right now, but I'm 3 for 3 in terms of talking to people about a potential contract offer and them deciding to pay me. Um, and each time, Zach, you were a huge help on this, getting like my offer kind of in a position that I could send to people and they could easily visualize and make a decision. Every time I send that, it's with the utmost confidence that they're going to say yes. Right. And I don't have to go back in a few days. Like each time it's, hey, yeah, here, this is the one I want to pick. And I think without that confidence and without like seeing you guys do it, without seeing a lot of our other peers do it, um, and of course not having like a deck that I felt comfortable in, without having, basically Zach, you being able to show me kind of what you've been using. I just don't think even if I sent the same exact deck, the energy I was projecting into the universe, what I was trying to manifest, was not getting the energy and the confidence that it deserved. And so, yeah, it may sound a little like whatever, hippie-ish, but I do very much think that the manifesting of they want to close with me, they have the same problem that I can solve, and I want to work this problem out with them, is a big part of it. And then another part is like, I'm good enough to get the yes. It's for months. I spent months, 9 months, 10 months, whatever it ended up being, working with one client, 40 hours a week. Obviously, I've got more time in my schedule I could work than that. And I just never had the confidence to even go out and be like, let me try to get a client.
Yeah.
Let me try to work on an offer.
Yeah.
And so, like, me knowing, this is kind of like with the Lifeline bit, me knowing our contract was coming up to an end from like a one client, my one client lifestyle was no longer going to be around. It of course pushed me to go ask for, some other work, talk to some new clients and secure them. But for months, I didn't have the confidence to even do it. And of course, I was just like comfortable with the 40 hours, one client life, which was great. But if I had that confidence level that I have right now, that like literally I wake up with every day feeling very much like, yeah, I can do this shit. There'd be no way I feel like I would have secured these other two clients and be working on some other cool projects. So like, I'd say from everything, like you're going to prep, you're going to do all that stuff, but waking up with that level of like, I can do this. And then as obviously all the shit hits you, you still get up and you say, I can do this. That's probably going to be your most powerful thing that you can do. Starting off, especially if you don't have a big mega name brand for yourself quite yet.
I don't think it's hippie-ish, and I love that you share that. It's like confidence is super important because it's just like, again, you're you against you, right? And you're seeing everyone on LinkedIn and everyone seems to be killing it. Like, it's like when you look at Instagram, oh cool, everyone is yoked, everyone is like traveling the world, everyone has fun while I'm there stuck in front of my computer for like, I don't know, 60 something hour a week or however hours I work, I don't know. I think it's all about that. And then it's just a question of, well, I mean, if you're confident you can kill it, if you have like that background and everything, if like the podcast is a huge lever for me as well. Like, people are like, oh, you seems to be killing on the podcast side. I'm like, I mean, I have a very good team. That's why it seems to be killing it. But it's also a question of learning and then testing and iterating and all of that. We don't know what the future holds, but it's such a good learning experience on myself, on the way I work, on what motivates you, what are my own demons that I'm trying to fight. And ultimately, like, whether it's pushing 100%, whether it's doing it for years, for months, it's a very, very good gig to, I don't know, become a better person altogether. Because then you're like, well, I mean, I would not have seen me say, oh, if this contract doesn't work, it's a good learning opportunity to have more down the belt. Like, a year ago, I would have been, oh, I'm freaking out if this doesn't close. Today, I'm like, hey, I mean, I want to work with that client, but if it doesn't work, that's life. I have another at bats somewhere down the road.
What I really love about this conversation here is that, Eric, how you and I have been talking, gathering up, like how you and I like our group chat was like for me was like my first like hype circle, like for around this work. Because when you mentioned like getting a contract, I remember this past July where I was working one contract, it was coming to a potential end. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what am I gonna do? Like, this is like, what's my income source? I was fretting. I was just like, how am I gonna? This was an impetus of being like, I've got to start refining my offer. I'm gonna tell you more about that part next. But then weird enough, it all worked itself out, and I was like, oh, thank goodness. But going back to the second point, it's like having you guys here, like to vent about like the stress, vent about the fear, vent about the anxiety, like to have that, like Eric, you mentioned earlier, like, having your respective spouses to like talk about that. And then also it's like I had different communities I felt like I could tap into. I had you all. I had my weekly, bi-weekly therapist calls where I was just like, oh, yo, like this is like, am I in over my head? Like, shout out to like Taz and Lachey. Like, I'm like, there's been moments I like hit them up like during the week. I'm just like, I need a sanity check right now. I'm like, I had got off this call right now. I had a consulting call. I had a sales call, proposal call. I think I burned the bridge. I think I messed it up. And just so someone to just pull you back for air and be like, yo, like, no, it's okay. Keep on going. And then recently, like, Eric, you mentioned about like the pitch deck stuff. Like, what's been really cool is that having conversations with different people that are in a similar space here or like 6 months or a year ahead of you, you're going to learn things. You're going to get perspectives that your process will naturally evolve. So like when you talk about that pitch deck, now I do not give pitch decks anymore when I'm talking with clients. And it's not to say because it's like I'm swearing off pitch decks, like pitch decks are terrible, but it's because now like I've refined my process to a point that's so simple that I can just talk about it in the call. And then it's just like, if you want to see a deck, I'm happy to share it with you, but like I'm like, it goes back to that confidence piece right there, is that like I have a supportive community around me. I've got momentum in my corner right now. Like, if Gab, to your point, if things don't work out, we're gonna find a way forward.
I love it. So your question was more towards how do we approach that with our significant others, or how do we get sanity checks in the way?
Yeah, like like because this work can be very isolating because you're not in house. Like you can't hit up Dave from on Slack and be like, oh Dave, what do you think about that meeting? Oh, it sucked. Like like
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think that you said it, dude. Like, you got to find people you can talk to. And the best part is, like, we don't work at the same place. So when shitstorm A happening, and I've got shitstorm B happening in a totally different, situation. Gab's got shitstorm C happening with a different client. It gives us, I think, naturally the space to just vent and bitch like we love to do. And then for your other, the other people, the other communities that you carve out, same type of deal. Like, likelihood is you guys aren't working with the same client at the same time on the same project. And so I think it's been easy for me because I know you two. Obviously, we all know Oaks. There's a few other people who are just been doing this life for a little bit now and can help me get around some speed bumps. But I think just having those people to vent and just be like, dude, this is a fucking day, or this has been a week, or this client has been an absolute terror is like therapy in itself from my perspective.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you can't necessarily talk about all of that stuff to your significant other, because it gets very taxing very quickly, and it's kind of a different situation. Like yesterday, I showed my partner my system, how I want to build content in 2025, and it's also forcing me to.
I bet she was so hype.
No, she wasn't. But I said I need to show this to someone, because I told her for weeks that I was working on this, and I told her, okay, so can I take 5 minutes to show it to you? And she said, 5 is a long time. I said, can I show you 3? And then she said, okay, but I knew it would take me 5 minutes. But I show it to her. I'm like, my problem is this. I need to have a system that looks like this. This is the output. This is the outcome. And then this is the 3 minutes. And then in the 2 minutes remaining, I just show her like a newsletter that I've been working on that is including a bunch of, and then she's like, hey, this is past 3 minutes. I'm like, yeah, I know, but this is an additional 2 minutes I want to showcase you. And then she almost laughed, and
she said, y'all you in a Dragon Den, and you in Shark Tank, bro. Like,
she was like, you're full of shit. You told me 2 minutes and now it's 5. But yeah, basically, like I'm staying surface level, but to me, something that I'm trying to change my mind more and reset my mind. And that's why I took things more slow during the holidays. Is not, oh, I have frustration and everything. It's I get to do this, right? I get to be in a home that I own. I can walk twice a day with my dog in some woods, 2 minutes walk from my home. I get to go downstairs. I can play video games. I have a boxing bag now. I can do all of that thing, right? By staying home. It's a privilege. I get to do this. And the best comparison I have is my brother's a power alignment. He's working 45 hours a week in 4 days, so like 11 and a quarter hours per week, working physically. Like he has to be in like electric grid with a team with like hyper heavy equipment. And I'm not adding stress to it, but like someone died a couple of weeks ago in like the project they are in because he got crushed by something out of it. Super dangerous job, super stressful, uh, very well paid, but even that, like in Quebec, you get taxed a lot too. So, he's putting money aside and everything. He has to leave at like 4 a.m. on a Sunday to go drive to like the place of work, or I don't know his like schedule exactly, but now he's expecting a child and he has to like find a job because he won't be out of work, out of the contract. All I do is I stay home, right? And I talk to internet people. That's my job. And even if it gets frustrating, even if LinkedIn is a piece of shit sometime, it's still very privileged that all I need to do is have a standing desk, a walking pad, and I can go outside, I can work out, I can play video games, I can do anything I want. While my brother is just breaking his body slowly by slowly year after year, 4 days a week, 11 hours a day, far from home.
Yeah.
So
And
it's a question of
yeah,
framing.
yeah, no, that's a really good point. And just even like bring up that, like continue that example is that I started trying out this new exercise, like a mental exercise at the gym. I know, very meta, and there are setbacks. There's things that when you see someone doing it and you're like, oh, that sucks right there. But then what we don't see is that what are they telling themselves in their, what is the script they have in their head to keep on doing that? And like when I was at the gym the other day, like I got this workout that I hate doing. I hate deadlifts. They suck.
I hate deadlifts too. A
No,
lot.
like there's a lot people do not like deadlifts. There's a lot of people that don't like them, but they do it. But it's just like, how do you reframe something you hate doing? I do not like being ghosted. Like I said this earlier, I don't like being ghosted on LinkedIn when I send you a DM and then see you post something to. I'm like, yo, you saw my message. I'm like, you active. Like I see that, but how can I reframe that? How can I reframe that where it's just like, this is not, I'm not being like, whoa, it's me, but I'm like, hey, like, I enjoy seeing this. This just fuels me. So, like, I've been telling myself, I'm like, I enjoy getting ghosted on LinkedIn. I enjoy deadlifts. Because when I say that and that happens, I'm like, oh, try me again. I'm going to go send another message to someone else. Because it's like, I know that setback is a step forward. I know that setback is gonna keep me going. It's just fuel to get another yes. It's fuel to get another like contract. So it's just like this space what we're doing here, and it's like, and I think the last point I'm gonna say it out. Stop. Is that I was thinking about it like for like 2 years ago. A lot of the people I spoke to were people that were in-house PMMs doing 9 to 5s. Compared to today, I talked to a lot of I talked to you all, you two. We talked to a lot of guests that are also, if not fractional PMMs, but have gone out and started their own thing. And I was like, wow, it feels like by sheer osmosis of just the communities we built. I've recently joined Full Stack Solopreneur, like again another like dope community. It's just like being in that space of just has like helped me like shape on being like I got this, and tap into. So I think that's just really cool.
You
I
are who
love
you
it.
surround yourself with, right?
Yeah,
Like that is the
exactly.
most literal version of that I can imagine. And you're exactly right. I feel like the transition of like who is in my tribe has definitely influenced the type of, path that I'm on now. Um, and it just continues to shape that very same way. So I love that point you brought up, Zach. I never even thought of it until you mentioned that.
The tribe is so much important, and that's I feel like we're blessed and grateful to have found each other because we're always pushing each other to levels, new levels, right? And it's like someone has a burst of energy, the others will get like pieces, if not the whole thing out of it. And Zach, I love how you said it. And again, I have a very similar example. When I do squats in my basement, uh, I get up to that point where I have my full range of motion and it hurts, like it hurts my leg. And I just try to go up with the bar with a smile. Like I like that pain. I like that shit, right? And just that makes it makes the series a lot better than just being, it hurts. I'm just like, you know, it feels psychopathic a little bit, but I have this and I just smiling like this, like,
Yeah.
come on, give me more. I need more.
Yes. It's that mind body connection because yes, like, the reality is it sucks,
Yeah.
but it's just like if you,
It's
it's
you're
like
the weirdo loving it, right? You
yeah,
don't care about it.
yeah. But your body can't tell the difference. Like when your body feels pain, your body doesn't instinctually know if it's a good or bad thing. It's just we condition to it. It's going up to give like a public speaking engagement. You feel anxious. That's your body doesn't know it's a good or bad thing, but it's like we've associated anxiety to, oh, I'm scared. What if you associate it to that, yo, I'm amped. Like, yo,
Yeah, because I'm learning.
I'm learning.
I'm
I'm
doing a new
excited.
thing. This is growth right now. This is
Yeah, this
growth
is
happening.
girl. Yeah, I'm doing a
I
new
can
experience.
11-month-old Enzo, when he falls and hurts himself, if no one's there to hype him up, he cries. But if I'm there and I start cheering him on and say, "Good job, Enzo," he doesn't even realize that he hurt himself. And
Yes,
so that is 100% factual that we tell ourselves how to react to pain.
yes, yes.
And we
That's
can
actually
choose to smile at the top of our squats
yeah,
or grimace. That's
exactly.
our choice.
That's actually a very good ski lesson they teach to the youth. They're like, hey, if the kid falls, celebrate it. As long as the kid didn't like gravely hurt themselves, like
Torn ACL.
walk it off.
Love that. It's not a we're not marketers episode unless we take a nice bend.
a strong detour.
Exactly. A tangent, as we call them.
So, do we got any other tips we want to leave our listeners before we head out?
Lessons, right? If we have one lesson each, we can give PMMs right now that are contemplating the idea of going fractional. What is one lesson we each want to deliver to them?
Yeah, I'll for some context, this would be for any PMM who feels like they don't have like a celebrity brand. They're not on one of those top lists of whatever. Um, they may feel like a natural sense of imposter syndrome. I want to give this advice to you. I would say, um, without any concern of like how big the opportunity is or any of that, just figure out what is the stuff that about product marketing that you love, the stuff that gets you out of bed, and when you get those projects coming in your tracks that you get excited for them, and then equally write down the things about product marketing that you just never want to do again. And from that point, I think it's easy to start crafting your offer. And exactly, how far you want to niche down is up to you. I know we'll all have a strong opinion about niching down, but before you ever get to that point, I think if you get very clear with yourself what parts of product marketing you love to do and what stuff you don't love to do, it'll be a lot easier for you to start building your offer out in a way that we believe is specific enough, so you're not just a generalist. Makes sense.
Yeah. My one piece of advice I would say, and I'm saying this from a frame of reference of like 5 years ago when I was just starting out as a product marketer, and then I read an article from Justin Welsh from like Saturday Solopreneur of like sharing like, hey, like if you are in your job right now and you want to start something, like go do it. And that was like the motivation of creating Break Into Product Marketing, which it was like originally like a program to help people break into it. So like I would say is build that muscle. And what I mean by build that muscle is that, like Eric, what you said here earlier, is that one, like share what you know, like start talking about it on LinkedIn, build that audience. And if you find that, like find a way to say, hey, how can I just package this material into like a course, a 30-minute course of like website, and launch it. Because it's a lot like exercise. New Year's is coming up. When this launches, this is going to be about the time when everyone quits the gym. But like people are going to the gyms like, yo, I want to have that summer body. I want legs for days. But then we haven't set that foundation. Like, if you can walk 10,000 steps a day and do that consistently, that's better than like picking up a 300-pound deadlift and then not showing up to the gym for the next 7 days. Like build that muscle, build that foundation, celebrate your small wins. Damn, I realized that was more than one piece of advice. I'm sorry. Just cut out the rest.
Oh,
of
it's
what I
good.
said.
It's
Zach started a whole new episode for his advice. His one tip.
Just hey,
He said, "I got more than one tip, y'all. We ain't leaving it for that."
I pulled the gap
at the beginning, particularly. I was like, "Yeah, that groundwork that you lay is going to be the foundation for your success, or just an easier path to success."
Yes.
Not necessarily. Like you probably do it without it, but yeah, I can say with confidence, just like at least one of my opportunities was very much from just content posting, making sure people knew I love storytelling, that type of stuff. And I highly agree with you. It'll make your path a lot easier.
Yes.
For me, I would say it's all about kind of the foundation, but be obsessed. Like, I probably didn't took the easiest route by just writing and talking about messaging, right? There's people a lot more talented than me in that field, but I decided to pick up a very small position with like message testing. I'm trying to expand on it, but I'm obsessed, right? I can spend hours in front of the computer researching stuff and then writing about it. Find what obsesses you, right? And it's normal to have ups and downs. You will have them. I can assure you, you will have mental breakdowns, and those are not fun, but those are good growth opportunities to understand how do you react in those situations. And to me, I was at a point where I was trying to be consistent and I was trying to get clients, and I felt like I was not giving my 100%. And I saw a quote by Epictetus, Zach, if we just finish it up by bringing back stoicism. And the quote is, how long can you afford to put off who you really want to be? And I saw this quote and I just started feeling like crying because I felt like I was not truthful to my noblest self. I was like pushing things back because I was still dealing with that as someone who has a 9 to 5. While what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to have a better life for me, for my family. I'm trying to enjoy life more. And I don't want to be stuck in the rat race where I woke up, I'm 50 years old, and I'm not at that point that I want to achieve. So yeah, this one feels a bit more philosophical, but basically, understand what's driving you, what's his driving force, and then like put all of your efforts towards it. If you're not tired, ultra tired when you go to sleep at night, and you're not pumped and amped up to the work that you're going to be doing the next morning, change something. Because otherwise you will never have the right system to achieve what you want to achieve. And as much effort and work you can put into it, it will be like someone who's just posting on LinkedIn without bringing research or a goal behind it. It will feel like junk food content, and ultimately you'll get burned out eventually.
I'm obsessed with your obsession with obsession.
That was the mic
Because-
drop. This man said be obsessed. I'm like, damn.
Yeah,
Be
like,
obsessive. Never accept no for an answer. No, I'm kidding.
stock your
Send the
Stop your
17 DM
fractional
to
life.
everyone.
But I'm totally with you there, and I think it's like one of my favorite people ever is Kobe Bryant. I think he's the perfect example of that. Like, if you find the thing that you care about most and dedicate, like truly dedicate, right? Like that, most people don't even know what that means or what that feels like. But if you truly dedicate it to that, you're just gonna see the success happen, and not end up being the most talented person when you start, but you're damn sure gonna be one of the most well sought after people once it's all over.
But
Yeah.
even if you're not the most talented person, right? You don't want to be 80 years old and asking yourself, what if, right? You don't want to
Yeah.
live with, what if I put out the time? What if I did that jump? What if I took that job? Like, the worst thing you can have is like wondering what could have happened if you actually did the work.
Yes. Yes. And the last thing I was going to say, what you guys prompted, is that what we are saying right now is very unpopular. I'm going to call it out right now. It's very unpopular because someone's going to listen to say, "Oh, this is LinkedIn bro hype stuff. This is like, oh yeah, work all day, sleep all night." That's okay. That's okay, because on another point, Eric, you brought up Kobe Bryant. People love Kobe Bryant. But if you know Kobe Bryant's story, like, here's one anecdote. At the 2008 Olympics, like when they were training, you're talking about the best basketball players like in the world all coming together. You got LeBron James, you got Dwayne Wade, you got Chris Bosh, and all these players are like, yo, we're at our best game of like, and they were training in Vegas. They got done with practice. They left. Kobe stuck around for like an hour and a half, still practice afterwards. That's the equivalent of what we're talking about right here, of being like, yo, like, I already put the work in. Why are you doing more of this work right now? Like, chill. This dude put in that work. They went out to the club. Like, and I mean, everybody went out to the club, excluding Kobe. They went out from 8 p.m. They got in at 4:30, 5 a.m. Guess who they saw? Kobe Bryant. What was Kobe doing? Kobe was going to the gym. Practice was at 9. This dude was where, I'm not saying that like, oh, to do what we do, be like Kobe Bryant, but Gab, it goes back to what you said earlier. This guy had an obsession. Like, he loved what he did. It reflects that. So that's why we can sit there and say, oh, I love Kobe Bryant. But you're like, if some of us were like, okay, take the Kobe mentality and put it in your work, they're like, nah, I don't want to do that. That's
Everyone wants the results. No one is willing to do the work to get them.
Exactly. That's a hard truth, is that there's intentional trade-offs. Are you willing to make that trade-off? And there's some realities where it's like, you don't have that option available to you, and we get it. That's totally okay. But for those who might have that privilege, don't be mad at it if you don't want to take it.
100%.
I loved that episode. I feel like we tackled a lot of different topics, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts, like shout out Modern Wisdom, who's absolutely a treasure of a podcast and of a lot of philosophical and just incredible insights. But I feel like even if some people might be like, oh, this is Lincoln Bro stuff, ultimately no one is coming to save you, right? Like if you go fractional and thing doesn't work, like it's not like someone will come, oh, good luck, try again, load your save file and you'll be fine. It's real life. People you need to take care of, children, family, whoever else. You need to put in the work if you want it to succeed. Yeah. And you get to do this. It's not someone is forcing your hand. So
yeah,
just act it. The first 3 months, I took the trade-off to travel South America. Well, no, it was for 5 weeks, but
yeah.
I basically had a trade-off. I was working with one client. I could have worked my ass off and get another couple of clients down the road, and ultimately I would been in a better financial situation. But I told myself that every time I do those travels, backpack, and I don't know where the fuck am I going, I learned so much about myself. And just that was like a trade-off I was ready to make. So understand those trade-offs, make sure you have the right foundation, and ultimately find your tribe.
Hell yeah. Find
and
your
like
tribe.
You said, Zach, choose your hard.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Hey, shout out to Lachey for teaching me that, because then when she said that, I was like, yes, do that. But that's it for me.
All right. Well, that's another episode of We're Not Marketers.
Yeah. See you guys.
Thank you for listening to We're Not Marketers. If you liked what you heard, please subscribe, review our podcast, and share this episode with other PMMs. Thanks again, and see you soon.